order of magnitude very useful. That gives
Yeah, sir, you can go ahead, sir. It's on live. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, oops. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be back for our live session, webinar session for technology forecasting for strategic decision making course. We're very happy to be here with you, and I'm happy to have my co-hosts as well, Professor Dmitry from Strasbourg, France, and
Yeah,
Siddharth
good afternoon.
from Ayun Visakhapatnam. Siddharth, Visakhapatnam.
Oh, I'm back in Pune, sir. Hi, Siddharth here from Pune.
Okay, so Pune, okay, I'm
Yeah.
updated now. So it's great. Thank you so much for your questions on the forum as well as on the live sessions last week. It really keeps us, very excited about having this course, sharing with you what we have learned in the past, and we are ready to gather more from you as well, where things are going great with the course for you, how you're finding it for applications in classes that you're attending, or in say a company that you're working for. If there's something that you're taking the learning from this course and you're applying, we would love to learn from you. So this session is meant as a replacement to meeting you face to face, instead of that. So instead of that, we would like you to hear from you your questions. We have a whole bunch from last week as well, so we are excited to sort of take some of the questions. Usually we start off, the pattern that you might have seen is that we start off with a topic, we explore it a bit, and then we go to your questions. But depending, because of the response we got last time, we want to keep this an entirely question and answer sort of session to clarify your doubts if you have any, or any exploration you want to do on a particular topic, or something that you really felt that has to be discussed, a thought that you want to share. Also you can share with us, and we'll be happy to sort of read it out to the rest of the people as well. So with that, I'll lead to the first question. Siddharth, you're going to be our sort of anchor person for this. So Siddharth, over to you to take us to the first question.
Sure, sir. So I'll be sharing my screen with the first question here.
Okay. Okay, so the question goes, can we predict the degree of interaction of living organisms and technology? How much interaction growth is beneficial in the case of human life and for economic systems? Okay, so I'll handle a part of this question, and I'll lead it to Professor Dimitri to get his opinion also on this after I go. I would like to start off by saying that the four contexts that we use, I have discussed this at length with Professor Dimitri also in the past. We normally deal with four contexts whenever it comes to technology forecasting itself. The four contexts are the acronym that we use, and it's very easy for me to remember. When I started out, I couldn't remember all of them, but I remember this acronym TEES. T's, like TEES, T-shirt. Remember a T-shirt? TEE shirt. Okay. So T stands for technology, of course, the technology aspect of it, the technical aspects of it, and the interaction with what it's supposed to be for, all the stuff that you have come across in the course, the function of the system, what it's intended to be doing. Okay, that's the technology. That doesn't need a lot of exploration. The second is the environmental aspect of it. Environment means how it interacts, how the function of the technology, or how people interact with what's around them, what's enveloping them. That's the environment. What effect it has? What does the environment contribute back into this? So it's never in isolation. It works in a particular environment. So keep that in mind. So that's the first E. The second E, of course, is what this question partly refers to, is the economics part of it. So is it not only in dollar terms, but or rupee or euro terms, but also in terms of how much resources it consumes, how much resources is it demanding from to perform its function. So all that needs to be dealt with in the economic part of the context itself. The last part, and often I find that I am also as guilty as charged, is the societal aspect. What is the current trend? What does the society think of this? What does the human relationships sort of go on with this particular technology in this? How does it affect it? How is that affecting this back to the piece of technology or the system that we're talking about? Okay, so TEES, that's again technology, environment, economic, and societal. So this question wasn't asked, but I'm going to give that anyway. Is in any team, a technology forecasting project team always has to have representatives from all of these four aspects to get a comprehensive look at what's going to happen. So the prediction, the forecast makes a lot more sense, a lot more meaning. Okay, I handle one part of this question as I understand it. Over to you, Professor Dmitry. For we would like to hear your opinion on this.
Yeah, thank you, Bala, for elaborating on the question. When you are looking through the video of our course, we try to share with you our point of view about how technology forecasting can be performed, strategic technology forecasting can be performed based on our limited experience. Whatever experience we take, it is limited, okay? And we are doing so in order to help you to be better than we are doing today, because we believe that when you will learn, you will not repeat the same mistake and you will go further. The question that I do appreciate, because the question is not, can we predict the degree of living organism and technology? This is exactly what we are doing when we are predicting technologies changes. The question is, how can we predict it reliably? Okay, it's not the question, can we? Yes, we can. The question is how to make it predictable, reliable, okay? And in fact, whatever technology we predict, this is always the question about interaction. Thank you very much to Bala, who explained to us these four contexts that we always have to take into account. The second part of this question, how much interaction growth is beneficial in case of human life and for economic system. In fact, if you look in very general, what is the main purpose to run any kind of technology, okay? In fact, we try to gain our time. Whatever technology we use personal mobility technology in order to go faster from point A to point B. We use washing machine in order to do something else within a time when our clothes are washed. Okay, when we use the computers, we perform calculation or we perform treatment of the data much faster than we can do it without technology. It's always a question of interaction, and of course, the only technology can survive in a competition for this interaction with us, the technology which show the better ratio between benefits to expenses. So, in fact, each technology operate in economic context. If you like, the economic context of country or society, this is a nearest super system. This is a game where different technologies are actors. This was my trial to enlighten a bit on this question, and if it is not enough, just specify your question and we will try to do it better. Thank you. Can we go to next question, please?
Thank you, Professor.
So, the next question is, you showed us about clock speed of technology in different industries. Kindly explain how can we forecast or compute the rate that our product will be replaced after we have introduced it. in order of methodologies that we try to teach you within this course, we answer this question through using quantitative method, logistic S-curve. Okay, and let me show you it through the example using the software that is suggested for your attention. I'd like now to share my screen. Okay, thank you, Siddhar. Okay, and I'd like just to show you an example about. I believe you can see my screen. This is example about passengers on road in India. Okay, if you look to this diagram, the passenger movement by road in India, from the data are taken from from 2001 until to 2017. So we take this data, which are data taken from Ministry of Transportation of India, okay? And we, using the logistic S-curve, we try to extrapolate this data and we try to see how the number of passengers movement will change. What we can learn from this exercise? We can learn interesting things that, in fact, the movement of passengers on the road in India doesn't grow the same fast as it was before 2012. Okay, starting from 2012, we continue to grow cumulative number of passengers, but rate of growth, this is a bell-shaped curve, has not been changed. So this allows us to predict, for instance, looking to the time of growth, about 16 years, that surprisingly, 2012 plus half of 16 years, 8 years, we arrive to 2020, that from 2020, it will not continue to grow exponentially, but it's arrived to its plateau. What does it mean? It means that people there, they will continue to move, but the number of people on the road will not increase. The same study we can do whatever technology we take using time series, and it can help us to answer the question that you stated. Siddhar, can you share your screen? I'm stop sharing mine and you share yours. I'd like just to come back to the question. Yeah. In fact, through this study of about past in border of our methodology, we answer the question, what in a time will happen with our technologies that we try to study. But there is a remaining question, what will be the next technology? Okay, how people, for instance, will satisfy their needs for communication without transportation? Because we can see that. And it's interesting to see that the data that I shared with you was collected from 2001 to 2017. But using this data, what we really predicted what happens today due to some restrictions according to the situation that we are experiencing all around the world today. This is how we can forecast the timing, okay, when it will be replaced. But the clock speed of technology also is very useful in order to state the first question, because there is no forecast if you have no question, okay? If, for instance, somebody tell you, okay, please forecast me about computer display, what do you think? It's not possible to run forecast with such a question. The question has to be formulated. You are interested about computer display in which time slot, for instance, in next 7 years, in which country? In India. Oh, good. This is a question. But how do we know this 7 times or 7 years or 12 years? For this, we look to the table that I suggested for your attention last time about clock speed in order to formulate our question more properly. I believe I add some more clarity for this question. And if not, just repeat more specific your question. Bala, have you had something to add? Do you have something to add?
No, I think you've covered this in detail. There just that there are possibly two aspects to that. One is the for me that was the thing that there are industries which are so unique. How do we actually predict this? And the answer is yes. There's one is the quantitative and second is the qualitative itself. So never do we run just with numbers, neither do we run just with models, that is mental models. How do we understand the business? It has to be a combination of the two, which we can't emphasize in greater detail than this. Thank you so much for the explanation.
Indeed. Yeah, indeed. We have to understand, before collecting data, we have to understand the business. And yeah, indeed. Absolutely. So go to the next question. We do innovation and invention to make our life easy and not to take our job few years from now. Engineers may be having job, but what about people from commerce background? Okay.
Okay.
So Bala, can you start? And I have my idea how to answer this question also.
Okay. So just before we started our session, I was just explaining to Professor Dmitry about how when I was deciding about a career after my school, it was just two choices: either engineering or medicine. That's about it. And then that's what we were thinking about, was the world is divided into two. And then of course when I started teaching, there were other people who said, okay, that may be true for engineers or doctors, what about me? And people from the law background or commerce background or arts used to come up and ask me questions. So I understand the context that you're asking this question, but we are in a world now where being in one discipline, being just having your field of knowledge cut out, it will not work at all. So you have to have multiple facets to, just like how in the even my first question I started out with, we have these four contexts which actually span all across disciplines. So never is there a time truer than now that we will see that it's by definition everything that we handle is going to be interdisciplinary. What does interdisciplinary mean? Which means that engineers cannot just say, oh, this is not my job, when they look at profit and loss numbers. And financial inclined people or commerce background people can't say, oh, that's too technical for me, that's technology, I'm not going to be able to handle it. So it's not going to be the case. So, and I see this more often with my students, with companies that I work with, is that we are no longer going to be in one technology or one discipline alone. So first of all, I think that classifying pure engineers or pure commerce people is going to this is my own trend that I've seen in India and in some parts of the world that I've been to, is that no longer is there going to be just one. We have to take into account other disciplines as well. So that's my first stab at this question. The second one is jobs taken away. So this seems such a to me like a protectionist sort of statement to make, that the jobs will be taken away from somebody. I think that and I think we sort of referred to this in the past, is that yes, there will be machines, there will be technology, there will be systems that will take up some of our routine tasks, so that we can do something more creative, something more meaningful, is something that we are going to see on a very, very regular basis, given how fast technology has picked up in the last 100 or so years. So instead of looking at it from the aspect of taking somebody's job away, it is forcing us to think about how am I going to discover meaning in what I'm doing, purpose in what I'm doing, and where does this all amount to. sort of philosophical stab at it as well. But this is what I feel when somebody says somebody's taking my job away. This is the response that comes to my head. Professor Dmitry, over to you. This is what I think about the question.
Yeah, thank you, Bala. In my case, if I answer very short, okay, it's whatever job will be taken, it can be replaced by creative job. In fact, each time we have more time in order to be more creative when technology take part of our job. But this is very short. In order to be operational, I'd like to share my screen, if I can. Okay. Okay, let me share my screen once again, and let me invite you to see this website. This website we already introduced in body of our course, and it's useful for technology intelligence. If you go to the World Economic Forum website, which is available for free, you can find the future job report. Okay, of course you can download it and look carefully, because there are a lot of interesting insight. But now I'd like just to, can you see my screen? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can.
I believe that you can see. But let me share with you one diagram out of this report, which is really help me to cope with this question. Okay, on this diagram, you can see different jobs, not only engineers, okay, and this is employment trend for job in United States from 2007 to 2018 for 11 years. And this is facts, it's not prediction. And what we can see that, for instance, the computer operators, that everybody believes we have more and more places as a computer operators, in fact, it was decreased by 70% if we compare 2007 to 2018. And we can see what kind of profession decrease in which rate. And this is very interesting to see from point of view that we can see that technology, indeed, they are going to replace, for instance, like word processor. We don't need any more typists, because many word processors today, they can just type when you are speaking. This is advancement of artificial intelligence. But it doesn't mean that you will be jobless. No. We will have more creative jobs. So that's why in coming years, the education and imagination of people to open new opportunities will become much more important than it was in the past. This was my trial to answer this question, which I feel that behind of such question, we always have some fear that in the future we will have difficulties to find job. Not at all. It is not like that. Thank you. May we see the next question, if it is good enough for answering previous one? Yeah. Okay. Is it possible to become a non-living system to be self-adaptive? Okay, I do appreciate this question, because in fact, even it is short, it is very profound question. First of all, let us try to distinguish non-living and living system. Okay, because if I, for instance, take definition that is working definition from me that I took from the book of famous physicist Schrödinger, who is one of the father of quantum physics, and this physicist, he suggested the formula that today is widely in use in quantum physics. He tried to explain in his book what is life. He used a very short definition, like the living system usually they continue to operate when we already have a balance, equilibrium in a system. Okay, when a non-living system, they evolve towards to the equilibrium, okay, increase level of entropy, and when it is close to the zero, there is nothing happened in. But living system, they continue to go. And in fact, the adaptation to changes suppose that we have always open system. There is no closed system. So the non-living system today, like computer algorithm, they show some signs of adaptability to changing environment. This is a new domain, machine learning, and we have a lot of algorithm inside that show us that with a so primitive computing system that we today using, it is even with this one, it is possible to organize a learning system. But speed of this adaptation, the question is always this one, because the living system, what we are talking about that we can find in nature, they are shaped through the thousands of millions of years of evolution for the competition. They compete for the resources, for the light, for the food, for resources that they need to continue to operate. So the question is not, can we adapt or not? No, the question is, can we adapt faster than our competitors? So, and from this point of view, the living system up to now, they are much more performant in this functionality. In short, is it possible to become non-living system to be self-adaptive? Yes, it is. But the question is the speed and level of adaptation. Because if we look in deep for the latest advancement in artificial intelligence, all of them, they depend on electricity. If we just switch off the source of electricity, which can happen very easily just as a result of earthquake or as a result of magnetic impact from sun to the earth, all those artificial systems, they are obsolete. This is my point of view about this question. Probably there is another one. Bala, can you share your experience about it?
Okay. Some years ago, we were in a company, we were looking at proposing a self-healing sort of system. This was basically, it's like, I think I've seen this in tires, tubeless tires, where if there is a puncture, the liquid oozes out and solidifies and sort of fills up the puncture. So it's like a self-healing system. We were going to propose that, and it was very interesting because then we started looking at biological systems for inspiration. So biological systems where again the same philosophy was very similar, is that we had a liquid and it opens up and the stuff comes out and fills up whatever it is, or it does certain aspects to this. So I would like to say that it's I would like to point out a resource in Professor Carl Sagan's book called Cosmos. This is a famous TV series out of which he wrote a book called by the same name, Cosmos, COSMOS, and in that he talks about an experiment where a bunch of gas left in a jar, I'm sorry, a big cylinder, uh, and they passed electricity through this, and all sorts of heating and cooling and all those effects, and then they started seeing some higher order carbon molecules started being formed. So thus forming the whole system, life as we know it. So it's very interesting that it actually created conditions almost true to how life would have originated. So I agree with Professor Dmitry that it's a thin line between living and non-living, and how such systems slowly evolve and and after a while it's very difficult to tell them apart, and the adaptive and the self-adaptive sort of portion just is another aspect of living organisms itself. So it's interesting how this question is so like you said, it's so short but it's so profound. Thank you for that question. That was my trial at taking a stab at this.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you feel that question is not answered, you can elaborate in the chat, and we will be back. But now we shift to the next one. Yeah. Thank you, Siddharth. What all aspect you try to analyze in technology forecasting? I do like this question, because when I receive such a question, I usually think that we believe the very profound belief that make an obstacle for forecasting, that we believe the more aspect we took, the better it is. But if you look to the practice, and I'm looking to the practice of what I learned from the books, from articles, and for my also practice, it is well opposite. Usually we need to make selection out of many inputs, many aspects. We need to select 3 to 5, not more, aspects that we are going to take into account to predict the future. Why so? There is one point that this is a limitation of our thinking process. In operational memory, the human being is capable to keep 5 ± 2 objects independently. From another point of view, the more complex our model, the more we impacted by very small errors in our data or in our formula which connect those data. So the question is not to take all aspects for technology, but the key aspect. And how we manage this in order of methodologies that we suggest for your attention. We spent quite time to define our system, to understand the business that we try to predict, the process. Why we spent so? Because we need to understand what are those key aspects that will help us to answer our forecasting question. And second part of answer for this question is how do we select others? In fact, let me use example that I already shared today. If you are interested to predict, for instance, future of electric cars in India, okay, in a coming 9 years. Why 9 years? Because I saw through the clock speak that every 6 years the update of these products appear on the market normally. Okay, I put the time horizon 9 years. How can I select aspects for this? What will be the key? The first one will be the movement of people on the road. And we already seen that starting from 2020, the people in India, according to our analysis, will not move. The number of people will not grow the same time like it was in the past. Okay, this is the one. In fact, we put the number of passengers in total that can have these needs in these electric cars. And after that, we define what is the main function of this car, and we try to compare how this function was satisfied before, in particularly in India. Okay, what kind of technology people use in which amount in order to satisfy the main function that electric car can provide us. And this is a second very important thing that to take into account and to understand how technology will substitute each other. And of course, we need to understand what are the problems. This is why we suggest in board of our course the network of contradictions. when we know the problems about performing this functionality, we can see really electric cars, do they answer those problems or not? Because very often what happened, the very fashion technology looks so interesting that people believe that future will belong to it. But just 2 years later, everybody forgot. This was my trial to answer about all aspects. This question, as far as I understood this question. Do you have something to add, Bala, or?
Yes, so this also, yes, thank you so much. That was pretty comprehensive. I think all aspects to me, I really, what is stopping this technology or this, that was what Professor Dmitry was talking about, was the problems or the bottlenecks to something going across. And this could be just not one problem we can't get our handle on. In a large team, we can probably identify many of such problems. So when we actually put it in a roadmap that we guess where it might be going, we get a good handle of how it is going to progress, in what rate it is going to progress. We are able to analyze this. For me, this is very, very powerful, because technology is meant for solving some situation that people are in. It is meant to serve a certain purpose, whether you go back to the days of the wheel, or you look at something that's cutting edge. It doesn't really matter. It is meant to make a difference in somebody how they are right now, and how it is. So we look at it from that aspect, and not only look at one aspect of it, but many of them together. And that's what is going to tell us what how fast is it going to move forward, or is it going to be stagnant at what point. So there could be just one technology or one company with just one armed with one technology is going to attack it, or many of them attempting at the same time. From what I remember, in the late 1990s, there were about 50 odd search engines who are all attacking the same problem of, now that the internet is exploding beyond means, how do you get it under control and give it that one path? Okay, that is one big problem for us to solve. Okay, many of them were able to, so each of them were building on top of the other, and one of them finally, it's not like they cracked it. It's just that everybody, from what I joke in my family, when somebody is trying to open a jam bottle, it's very stuck, and it goes around the room, and then finally when it comes to me, I just open it as if I'm the strongest person. It's just that everybody did their little bit, opened it a bit, and then finally when it came down to me, it just opened. So the same way in this, according to me, the most important aspect is the fact that so many people are trying to sort of solve this and make it go ahead. For me, that itself, if you're able to predict and uh, take a good look at what are the problems that are going to be solved when, that will tell you where the technology is proceeding. This is my trial at looking at this.
Okay, thank you. Can we go ahead? Yeah. This is about the case example, as far as I understood, about vacuum forming. Bala, can you start with this question?
Sure, sure. So if you look at one of our videos where we introduced the methodology called format, which is very similar in spirit to what we have explained in the course. This format, we started off with a case study on vacuum forming. Okay, if you want, you can go and take a look at the video. It talks about a similar situation where a piece of technology, piece of machine, was doing great service for this company Whirlpool for 20 odd years. I mean, it had been serving their function very, very well. And the case was that the time came when they had to look at we are going to renew the annual maintenance contract. And this is not just a sorry, not the annual maintenance, it's a maintenance contract. Maintenance contract for machines of that size and complexity are not for 1 or 2 years, but for 20 years. Now, if you're going to remain invested in a piece of technology machine for 20 years, you're going to put in a lot of money. You better be sure that this technology is going to remain for the next 20 years. So the case that we talked about in the video is about, do I now invest in this technology, or should I wait and look at some other technology? Will my current technology, vacuum forming, last for 20 years so that we can look at it and invest that money? So it was a business decision. Business context was very, very clear to invest or not into this maintenance contract. So your question is very, very similar. And once we understand the financial implication, the context it has, then you examine the system. What is it there for? What are the alternatives that exist? Is there a danger of substitute? Not danger. Is there a possibility of substitution? What are the pushing forces that push the technology ahead? What is it that is holding it back? Where does it feed into? What are the societal trends? What are the economic trends, environmental trends, technology trends? Look at all of them. And then finally, you can look at the roadmap, what is going on, how do we actually look at technology. And of course, data comes in handy, as we always say. Now, the quantitatives and the qualitatives, bring it all together. And of course, in that case study, we did find that it was going to last that 20 years. And apparently, it was useful information for the vice president of the appliance in the Whirlpool company itself. So we don't know what they did after that, but of course we handed the person the report. So that was my trial. That was a great experience.
Yeah, thank you,
Something
Bala.
to add, Professor Dmitry?
Yeah, I'd like just to use one slide that we already prepared for sharing with you by video, and probably you already seen it. But I'd like just to put it onto the screen in order to make clear this very question: who decide how a product will be substituted? What you can see on this diagram, you can see the history of substitution at United States, different music technologies, okay? And why do I like this slide? Because everything is well known. It's not a forecast, it's something which is limited by 2010. And we can see that this is a history how MP3 music started to grow and started to substitute CD music on the CD disc. This is for United States. For India, it will be different in a shape, in a time, but I'm using this example just to make it clear who decide that product will continue to be in use or not continue in use. It's not only the market. It's not only, in fact, it depends on the resources that we have. Let's imagine, just your imagination, that we're still using the cassette, okay, in order to listen music. And if you look how many devices we need to produce and what will be the size of those devices and how many tapes, it becomes so enormous that it is just simply not feasible from available resources to have so many technical systems to listen music today with the same intensity that, like, today you are listening music by streaming, and which is much more comfortable. Yeah, this part stay on the customer point of view, customer needs, because it's less expensive to listen music by streaming, less expensive in terms of time. Okay, not in terms of money. In terms of money, the price has not been changed since long, since we start to take music through the internet. This was a big shift at those times. But from the cost in terms of money, so it depends mostly on the two reason. One reason, the resources we need in order to run technology, and of course, the demand. If there is no demand about listening music, for instance, today, the demand about watching video and listening music, they merged, okay? And they are satisfied by the same subscription, for instance, the same subscription. Just make step back. Why, for instance, within this period of time when CD started to grow, before 2000, we already had MP3 music. Why we didn't use it so widely? Just because at those time, those technology provide us the best ratio, the performance to cost. And in cost, we include not only cost of materials, not only cost of energy, but also learning. We had not so many computers at those time available in the hand. We had no smartphones in our hand in order to start to download music and use it. So this was my trial to put a bit more light to this question: who decide about the technology will still in operation, and or technology will go out of the operation? Can we see the questions, Siddhar? Okay, thank you. It's not only customer who found it effective. This depends on limiting resources, according to our experience. Okay, thank you. What is the next question? Okay. Suppose I want to develop a new technology, and from what I want to use it in the product. What aspect I should take care or taking into consideration the environment challenge? Okay, today there are a lot of discussion about environment challenges, because we are really facing with this limitation of resources that we did not expect to have. But let us see step by step. If you'd like to develop a new technology, first of all, you need to make clear what will be the function and what you will satisfy. Okay, if you just make it because you are interested about, that's good time, but it can be good invention, but it is not necessary that it will become innovation. Okay. And if you are talking about product, you are talking about product on the market. So the new is not always the best. If you are interested to have a product on the market, you need to find a way how what you will suggest to the market will satisfy existing needs, and I would like to insist on these existing needs, but with improving of this ratio, okay, what your clients will take with less expenses. And expenses, it can be time, it's not only money. The main barrier that people, when they say expenses, they are talking mostly about money. No, not only money. This is what you start with. This is a first aspect that you have to take care. And the environmental challenge, in fact, your new technology should use as less as possible the natural resources. And the most critical natural resources today, this is air that we are using for breathing. Okay, that's why we are considered today about pollution, because we start to compete with our internal combustion engine for the oxygen, because internal combustion engine, they need oxygen and we need oxygen. Okay, and the more we use internal combustion engine, the less fresh air we have for ourselves. I'm just simplifying, but this is the same with any kind of energy production technologies that we are operating today. For electricity, is the same. Okay, so your new solution should use as less natural resources as possible. The first, air; second, water; third one, sand. Okay, those three resources, they are most limiting resources today for us, for surviving, let's say like that, in a good condition on the surface. And even more, your technology should be adaptable for circular economy. Circular economy, this is a concept you can probably, after we will finish our today's discussion, you can look more in detail, that when the product go out of its operation, we return it to the production process, and on the basis of it, we build the next generation product. Okay, it's not recycling, because recycling, we always have a small part of the waste. Okay, recycling, we say, okay, let's just recycle. No, the issue is even more interesting. How your technical solution at the end will be more valuable at the end of its life cycle than it was at the new one. For most of the people today, it's even difficult to imagine that it is possible. But there are plenty of examples like that. For instance, the older piece of wood which was used for the old building, today they are reused for their art performance. They are reused, and their value even higher than the value of wood of just cutted trees. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time, because we are always limited by this resource. This was my point about the question number 7, if I try to be as concise as possible. Okay, thank you for your question. So maybe see next question. Okay. Well, this question kind of in spirit of previous one. Many times technology is harmful to environment, but it might be necessary for human race. Do you think those technology will sustain in long run? Okay. In fact, you are talking about contradiction, the harmful for nature and useful for human. But there is no contradiction, because human is a part of nature. Okay. If today our technology exhausts the resources that we need for our surviving, this technology, they have no long-term future. Let me give you an example about the following. In Europe, for instance, last 10 years, in countries like Germany, there were a lot of support from government for people who install photovoltaic panels. And as a result, what happened, the farmers, they started to put the photovoltaic panels on the field where they grew up the food before. And those kind of policies that to support, for instance, biofuel instead of milk production, for farmers it becomes more interesting to grow some crops for producing biofuel instead of growing cows and to produce milk. The result is the prices on the market for the milk product increased, not only in Germany, but all around the Europe, due to this policy. In fact, the all decision that we take, it has to be seen in dynamic as a part of system which operate. In fact, I'd like just to come back to this. Yeah. In fact, the harmful for nature, this is a harmful for human. And this is, I'd like just to suggest you to change the point of view. Today we are talking about many articles start, let's save the planet. Okay, we don't need to save the planet. what we need to save ourselves from our greed and from our way to use technologies, different kind of technologies. Because the more we use technology that are not efficient, the more we harm our environment. And the more we harm environment, the more difficult situation we have for ourselves. The very last example to make clear what I mean, I'm living in an area near the Rhine River, and we have some sources of geothermal energy, not so many kilometers in deep, like 3 kilometers in deep, and you have. So it was a project. Now it was project to take the energy and to produce electricity thanks to the heat underground. And it was a lot of investments, millions of euro invested. But what happened last 2 months is we received several earthquakes. I was at home and the earthquakes start to appear, which is not normal for this area. Okay, in fact, the activities of this technology triggered the earthquakes. So this energy plant was stopped despite all these investments which were made, and because it looks like very environmentally friendly technology, we don't produce any CO2, but it was stopped because we had some cracks on the walls of houses nearby. You see, this was my trial to put some light on this question. Stop thinking about human and nature as a separate one. We are part of the nature. With all our technologies, we are just part of it. Okay, thank you for your attention. So do we have...
Thank you for that dramatic example, Professor Dmitry. That was great. I really appreciate the geothermal project. And actually, yes, we often think we classify this whole our intention, our technology, whereas we are very much part of nature. Whatever we do is actually part of whatever is happening. So I am not of the opinion that we are separate also. I agree with that part. And it's rather than saying make the planet great again or whatever the slogans may be, I think it's about survival of the species itself. So that's what we are actually, whatever happens, we're looking at what is it that we can make our species survive. So that's the bigger question that we always have. It's not about harmful for nature or harmful for humans, but we're only looking at what will keep our species ahead. So which is probably the thinking that has to go away and say, how do I harmonize the whole thing? How do I bring in harmony to this aspect itself? Thank you so much. This is a great example. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is embedded into key idea of our course. We need to forecast technologies more reliable in order not to make harm to ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Yeah.
Yeah, we are approaching end of our time. Do we still have one short question or?
That is all, Professor. That are all the questions we have for today.
For today, that's all. I can see there is a lot of discussion about cosmology and other things from fundamental science. It's a good idea. I would like just to say that our course is about what to do in practice. Okay, we try to share with you the methods, what to do in practice to have successful business, which will run long term, which will feed circular economy. And we try to share with you not only very wide basic ideas that looks like sometimes philosophical, but what to do step by step. Okay, this is the main purpose of our activities. Bala, maybe you have something to add.
Yes, so thank you so much for all your questions. It is very, very inciting for us, exciting as well. It made us think, and we got some great examples and great, explanation from Professor Dmitry. I really appreciate that as always. I think that we when we are designing the course, and I was talking to Professor Dmitry initially about the design of the course. He said, where is the part when learners actually are going to apply this? How are they going to put this in practice? Explain it to me. How are you going to do this? And I said, this is for awareness, and we will leave it to the learners to take the knowledge and apply it into wherever they're working or studying, or something that's around them. So again, if you're not thinking about that, I want to put this thought into your head, saying that these are very useful concepts, very useful examples that we have shared from our own experience. But proof is always in the pudding. Is you for yourself have to see this as useful stuff. You can go out there and see how to apply this. And from our side, what we can think of is, I mean, you see, you try to apply it. Oh, I don't understand. I thought you said this, but I'm trying to do that. And you can ask us questions. Of course, that is there. But the other aspect of it is that we will, from our own action, is that we are thinking about an advanced course where we can give you even more practical tips, practical applications of each, go into zoom in detail of each and every concept that we have dealt with in this course. We think of this as a beginner course, as an introductory course, but we want to zoom in and say these are some aspects that we want to highlight and show it to you in practice how this actually works. So that would be our dream, but till then you will have to take that next step and apply it, and see for yourself how these principles actually apply. Okay, that's what I had to share, Professor Dimitri.
Thank you very much. Thank you for today's webinar. Thank you for your participation. I believe that you will find useful things in our course. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Have a good day. Thank you so much, Siddharth, for your help and for putting this all together and into one nice little bow. I believe the next session is on March 5th, if I'm not wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, sir.
Yeah, March 5th it is. Yeah, I just confirmed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye everyone. Bye. Have a good evening. Have a good morning.